This is to do with ADD and ADHD, which is really a myth. It's not a brain disorder, and it should never be treated with a drug called Ritalin. 99.9% of the time it's due to the fact that children are having the wrong diet. Most children now, they have their lunch money and they go and buy junk food, and it's the hidden content of sugar which is the main thing, really.
Can you tell us why you feel so strongly about it?
For the last 25 years, I've tried to get all this about Ritalin, about ADHD, over to the government. They're not interested. You get the usual letter, thank you for your interest. Now, this year I decided to go public. This is called mirror writing. A child is allergic, he will do mirror writing, very often gets diagnosed as being dyslexic. They're not. A lot of these kids who are diagnosed dyslexic have an allergy, and they write mirror writing.
I have adult ADHD. Yeah.
Are you a teacher?
And I'm a teacher.
Well, do you know why they've got ADHD?
Why?
Because it's very often due to a food problem.
It could be too.
Well, it's not. It could be. It is definitely due to a food problem, and they do mirror writing, and then they get.
I've seen this many times.
Well, they get diagnosed as dyslexic. Go and have a look at my board round there.
No, well, I've got to get back to work though.
Pardon?
I've got to get back to work, but I
well,
want to
here we are. Look,
board.
you can take that away with you, and you can take this one as well. There we go. I've done it for over 25 years. Okay, thank you. Lovely. There we go.
What have you found is a good way often to deal with the food allergies? What do you prescribe?
Well, first of all, if somebody tells you, it's probably the school, you go to your doctor and say, my child's been diagnosed as ADD and ADHD. I think the best thing for you to do, get a notebook, small notebook, and you do a 4-week dietary test. On one side you put down what you give your child to eat. On the other side, the behaviour. Now the behaviour might manifest itself to the next day. So you go over and day number 2, you write down the date, what you gave the child, what his behaviour was like. If you do that through 4 weeks and you find he was scratchy on day 7 and he was also scratchy on day 5, try and see if you can get a cross-reference of the food he was eating or the drink he was drinking. There was another way to do it. If your child has a real binge out on the things he likes binging out on, that's a very, very good indication of what's causing his ADD. They might like to binge out on Coca-Cola. Take Coca-Cola out. Keep him off all fizzy drinks. Never give a fizzy drink with 951 in it because that has aspartame in it. But that's a good indication like binging out on peanuts or peanut butter. Honey, I know one child who binges out, he gets through a carton of honey in 2 days. And he's ADHD, he's gone out, he's 17, he's crashed his car, he's crashed his mother's car, he's a perfect nuisance. If he came off the honey, he'd be okay. He binges out on honey. Other kids binge out on other things, but that's a good way of doing it. Do a food diary.
And what kind of information have you put on this board?
High content of sugar. And this one here, I dyed this wall in fizzy drinks. And you cannot wash it out. If it's doing that to my wall, what's it doing to children's insides?
Goodness.
Okay. And connected with the physics and food, this is all about aspartame. An E number is 951. Look on the back of everything you buy. If you find 951 in it, chuck it. Don't buy it. Okay.
It is a big idea. It is a big idea. A new world order. It is a big idea.
Approximately 18 months ago, Betty bought these copper kettle chips, lime and black pepper, and she had a close look at the label after she'd eaten them, and to her horror found that even these contained aspartame. See on the ingredients here, it's listed as sweetener 951.
This one here, they're all the symptoms of hyperactivity.
Okay.
That's from pre-birth right up. Okay. This one here, it's all the countries that have this one here, these are all the E numbers, which are very, very dangerous. They're all mostly in food and fizzy drinks. And these are the countries that have banned them. New Zealand hasn't banned anything.
Did you advise the families on what changes to make?
Pointed them in the right direction. I didn't have one that didn't fail actually. I was very, very proud of that. Absolutely. And all due to food. Sometimes it's high sugar content because a lot of our food has hidden sugar and we don't know how much. Children and adults only need the equivalent of 10 teaspoonfuls of sugar per day. Most of that you get with your cereals or sugar in your tea, and the rest you get with fruit and vegetables. The average school child now has the equivalent of 50 spoonfuls of sugar per day through all the junk food. They don't, they get their lunch money, they go and buy junk food at the supermarket. Go down there any school day during the school time, you'll find absolutely crowded out with kids in the morning buying junk food for their lunch. If parents didn't give them money for their lunch, they wouldn't buy junk food. I'd like to see school meals come back again.
So what does the medical profession have to say, Betty?
I think there are quite a lot of doctors now realising that we have to do something about ADD and ADHD and not giving these kids Ritalin. Quite a lot of doctors in Australia are hopping up and down about it. Professor Kemp, he said the first line of defence now should be look into diet. Now that's a paediatrician in Australia saying that. Our first line of defence, we have to look into diet first. We've got to stop giving these kids Ritalin. There's about 280,000 children on Ritalin. That's in Queensland alone. It's dreadful. It's a dreadful thing. Absolutely. Kids have died having Ritalin. It causes a rapid heartbeat. It can cause strokes. One child of 5 on Ritalin stood in front of his grandparents and had a massive heart attack and died due to Ritalin. Very sad. It's unnecessary. All due to the psychiatrist bringing it out, taking 2 symptoms out of the large number of symptoms of hyperactivity and calling it ADD and ADHD. And we still, the 2001 assessment and treatment for children with ADD and ADHD in New Zealand, that came out in 2001. In 1998, the world's authorities on ADD and ADHD said it is not a minimal brain dysfunction. Doctors are still using that 2001. It was out of date before it was printed. It isn't worth the paper it's printed on, because they are still saying it's a minimal brain dysfunction, treatable but not curable, and it's not true.
I understand you went to Cuba in late 2005 to do research about this.
Yes. I was very pleased to see there were no McDonald's, Burger Kings, Wendy's or anything like that. No children walking around with cans of Coke. No children there's there are no supermarkets, but no children spending money for their lunches.
And was there a problem with Ritalin in Cuba?
I saw the professor of nutrition, and he said ADD, or he calls it hyperactivity, that's what it is. Hyperactivity is virtually unknown in Cuba. They were his words. We don't use Ritalin, we have no use for it, we don't need it.
Isn't that interesting?
Interesting. Hallelujah.
Okay. So you're going to be here until the 15th of February?
Yep.
Okay. Keep up the good work, Betty.
Okay.
And thank you very much.
No problem. I'm enjoying it.